What if the most planted fruit tree in America is actually the one causing the most problems? Not the rare ones, not the exotic ones, the one almost everyone starts with. Apple trees are everywhere. Backyards, suburbs, homesteads. It's the default choice, the safe choice, the one people trust without thinking twice. But here's what doesn't get said out loud. Growing apples at home is one of the most demanding things you can do in a garden. Not because they won't grow, but because they never stop needing something from you. Pruning, spraying, protecting, fixing, season after season. And if you miss just one step, disease shows up, pests move in, harvest disappears. Meanwhile, quietly in the background, there are fruit trees that do the opposite. They grow faster, produce more, and handle problems on their own. Some start fruiting in just a couple of years. Others ignore the exact diseases that destroy apple trees. And one of them? It can produce an almost unbelievable amount of fruit with barely any care at all. Yet most people never plant them, not because they don't work, but because nobody talks about them. So in this video, we're going through 13 fruit trees that outperform apples in real-world gardens, starting with one that grows almost anywhere and ending with one that completely redefines what productive actually means. Number 13, serviceberry, the quiet survivor almost nobody notices. You might have heard it called Juneberry or Saskatoon, depending on where you are, but most people walk right past it without realizing what it can do. Long before modern orchards and chemical sprays, this was a staple food relied on for generations because it simply worked. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful today. Serviceberry grows across an unusually wide range of climates, from cold northern regions all the way down to warmer southern zones, adapting to conditions that would stress or kill more demanding fruit trees. While apples struggle with disease after disease, this tree just keeps going. No spraying schedules, no constant monitoring, no endless troubleshooting. A mature plant quietly produces a steady harvest every year, often between 15 to 25 pounds of small, dark berries that taste surprisingly rich, something like blueberries layered with a subtle almond note. Even more interesting, those berries pack higher antioxidant levels than many of the fruits people go out of their way to grow. It doesn't need perfect soil, it doesn't need constant care, and it doesn't collapse under pressure. The only real competition you'll face comes from birds, and honestly, that tells you everything you need to know about how reliable it is. When the fruit turns deep purple, it's ready, and if you wait too long, nature will gladly harvest it for you. For anyone tired of fighting a losing battle with high-maintenance trees, serviceberry is what fruit growing looks like when the plant is actually on your side. If this one feels almost too easy, the next tree takes things even further, producing so much fruit that one harvest can turn into a neighborhood problem. Number 12, mulberry, the tree that almost feels unfair, because once you understand what it does, it changes your expectations completely. A single mature mulberry tree doesn't just produce a decent harvest, it can produce hundreds of pounds of fruit in one season, not over several years, not under perfect conditions, in a single season. And the strangest part is how little it asks from you in return. This is a tree that has been cultivated for thousands of years, not because it was delicate or high value, but because it was reliable on a scale that other plants simply couldn't match. Entire industries depended on it, and that only happens when something works without fail. In a home garden, that same reliability shows up in a different way. Once established, mulberry trees grow fast, handle heat and cold across a wide range of climates, and continue producing year after year with almost no intervention. No spray routines, no constant pruning cycles, no fragile dependency on perfect conditions. The fruit doesn't all ripen at once either, which means instead of a single overwhelming harvest, you get a steady supply over several weeks. And when it's ready, harvesting doesn't get much simpler. You can literally shake the branches and collect what falls. The flavor lands somewhere between blackberry and something sweeter, softer, almost like it already belongs in desserts before you do anything to it. Yes, birds will take their share, but when production reaches that level, it stops being a loss and starts feeling like overflow. The real question isn't whether you'll get fruit, it's what you're going to do with all of it. And that's exactly why this tree stands out. It doesn't just produce, it overwhelms. If you thought that level of output required perfect care, the next tree proves something even more surprising. It thrives by being ignored. Number 11. American persimmon, the fruit that rewards patience more than effort. At first glance, it doesn't stand out the way other trees do. It's not flashy, not widely promoted, and definitely not something you see in most backyards. But that's exactly why it's been overlooked for so long. Because what this tree offers doesn't show up immediately. It builds quietly, season after season, without demanding much from you at all. American persimmon trees are incredibly tolerant, handling cold winters, poor soil, and dry conditions that would push other fruit trees to their limits. While apples need constant protection, this tree has already adapted to its environment over thousands of years, which means pests and diseases rarely become a serious issue. It doesn't need to be managed, it just needs time. And that's where most people get it wrong. The fruit itself starts off harsh and astringent, almost inedible if picked too early, which is why so many first-time growers give up on it. But if you wait, if you let it fully ripen, soften, and reach that point where it's almost falling apart, the transformation is dramatic. What was once bitter becomes deeply sweet, rich, and complex, with flavors that feel closer to honey, apricot, and brown sugar than anything you'd expect from a backyard tree. A mature tree can produce dozens of pounds of fruit each year, and once it starts, it keeps going with very little input from you. It's the kind of tree you don't have to fight, adjust, or constantly monitor. You plant it, give it space, and let it do what it's already evolved to do. For anyone looking for a true low-effort, high-reward tree, this is where that idea actually becomes real. And if you're thinking that kind of resilience means sacrificing texture or familiarity, the next tree on this list does something even more interesting. It gives you the crisp experience of an apple without the problems that usually come with it. Number 10. Asian pear, the familiar experience without the familiar problems. If what draws you to apples is that crisp bite, that clean crunch when you take a bite, this is where things start to shift. Because Asian pears deliver that same texture, but without the constant vulnerability that comes with apple trees. These trees have been cultivated for thousands of years, not because they needed attention, but because they performed consistently. In a home garden, that consistency shows up as heavy yields, often well over 100 pounds per mature tree, with far fewer pest and disease issues to manage. They establish faster, begin producing earlier, and once they settle in, they continue for decades. The fruit stores well, holds its texture, and doesn't collapse into softness the way many other fruits do. It's the kind of tree that gives you what you expected from apples in the first place, just without the constant setbacks. And if consistency matters to you, the next tree takes that idea even further by thriving where most others fail completely. Number 9. Jujube, the tree that doesn't care if conditions are bad. Heat, drought, poor soil, situations that usually limit what you can grow barely register here. Jujube trees operate on a different level of resilience, continuing to produce even when water is limited and the environment is less than ideal. Once established, they require almost nothing. No constant irrigation, no delicate balance of nutrients, no close monitoring. And yet, they still produce a steady harvest year after year. The fruit itself changes depending on how you use it. Crisp and apple-like when fresh, dense and date-like when dried, giving you flexibility most trees don't offer. It's self-sufficient in a way that makes other fruit trees feel dependent. You don't adjust your garden for it. It adjusts to your garden. And if you think that level of toughness comes at the cost of history or tradition, the next tree has been valued for thousands of years, long before modern orchards existed. Number 8. Quince, the forgotten fruit that used to define entire kitchens. Before apples became dominant, quince held a different kind of importance, not as something you ate straight off the tree, but as something that transformed when used correctly. Raw, it's firm and almost inedible, but once cooked, it releases an aroma and depth of flavor that's hard to match, rich, fragrant, and deeply layered. The tree itself reflects that same quiet strength. It produces reliably, resists many of the diseases that trouble related species, and doesn't demand constant care to keep going. It's not about convenience, it's about potential. And once you understand how to use it, it becomes one of the most rewarding additions to a garden. But if you're looking for something that blends usefulness with direct health benefits, the next plant has been used as both food and medicine for centuries. Number 7. Elderberry, the plant that feeds you and supports you at the same time. While most fruit trees are grown purely for flavor or yield, elderberry adds another layer entirely. It produces clusters of small, dark berries that have long been used in traditional remedies, especially when it comes to supporting the immune system. But beyond that, it's incredibly practical. It tolerates wet soil, establishes quickly, and produces consistently without needing chemical intervention. The yield might not seem massive at first glance, but when processed into syrups or preserves, it stretches far beyond what you'd expect. It's not just about how much you harvest, it's about what that harvest becomes. And if you're interested in something even more unusual, the next tree produces fruit that feels like it belongs in a completely different climate. Number 6. Pawpaw, the tropical experience hidden in a temperate landscape. This is one of those trees that feels almost out of place, not because it struggles, but because of what it produces. The fruit is soft, rich, and intensely flavored, often compared to a blend of mango and banana, yet the tree itself grows comfortably in climates where tropical plants wouldn't survive. It's adapted, resilient, and largely ignored by pests, which means once it's established, it continues with minimal interference. The reason you don't see it commercially isn't because it lacks quality, it's because it doesn't handle shipping well, which makes it perfect for home growers. It's something you grow for yourself, not for transport. And if uniqueness is what draws you in, the next tree has been overlooked for so long that most people don't even recognize it anymore. Number 5. Medlar, the fruit time almost erased. Once common in historic gardens, now nearly forgotten, Medlar exists in that space between curiosity and rediscovery. The tree itself is easy to manage, tolerant of different conditions, and produces consistently without the usual set of problems. But the fruit is where things get interesting. It requires a process, time after harvest for it to soften and develop its full flavor. At first, that might seem inconvenient, but once it reaches that stage, the taste becomes something entirely different. Rich and complex in a way that feels closer to a prepared dish than fresh fruit. It's not immediate, but it's memorable. And if timing matters to you, the next tree shifts the calendar entirely by showing up before anything else. Number 4. Cornelian cherry, the signal that winter is ending. Long before most trees begin to wake up, this one is already in motion, producing bright yellow blooms while everything else is still dormant. That alone makes it valuable, but it doesn't stop there. As the season progresses, it produces a steady crop of tart, vibrant fruit that works exceptionally well in preserves and processed forms. It tolerates difficult conditions, resists disease, and holds its place without needing constant adjustment. It's both ornamental and productive, which is a rare combination. And if you're starting to notice a pattern here, trees that give more while asking less, the next one pushes that idea even further. Number 3. Che, the tree almost no one talks about. It exists just outside mainstream awareness, quietly producing large harvests without attracting attention. But once you understand what it does, it's hard to ignore. High yields, minimal care, strong resistance to pests and disease, it checks almost every box. The fruit itself is unusual, both in texture and flavor, offering something you won't find in typical orchards. And because it hasn't been overexposed or overbred, it retains a kind of natural resilience that many popular fruits have lost. It doesn't need to be managed aggressively, it just needs to be planted. And if you think that's impressive, the next tree has been feeding humans longer than almost anything else we grow. Number 2, fig, the ancient producer that never stopped working. Long before structured agriculture, before grains became dominant, figs were already being cultivated, and that history shows in how adaptable they are today. They produce heavily, often more than once per year, and they do it without requiring pollination from another tree in many cases. They grow in the ground, in containers, in controlled environments, adjusting to whatever space you give them. They establish quickly, produce early, and continue with very few issues compared to more sensitive fruit trees. It's not just that they're productive, it's that they're flexible, and that combination is hard to beat. But even with all of that, there's still one tree that brings everything together in a way nothing else quite does. Number 1, loquat, the tree that quietly produces when almost nothing else does. While most fruit trees are still dormant, waiting for warmth, this one is already moving in the opposite direction. It flowers in the cooler months and sets fruit earlier than nearly anything else you can grow, which means your harvest doesn't just depend on a single crowded season, it starts before everything else even begins. That alone changes how your garden feels. Instead of waiting, you're already collecting. Instead of everything ripening at once, production spreads out in a way that feels natural and manageable. But what really makes loquat stand out isn't just timing, it's how little it demands while doing all of this. The tree establishes quickly, adapts to different soils, and once it settles in, it produces consistently without needing constant correction. The fruit itself is soft, sweet, slightly tangy, sitting somewhere between citrus and stone fruit, and because it doesn't ship well, you almost never see it in stores. Which means if you want it, you grow it. And once you do, it becomes one of those trees that just fits. No constant problem solving, no complicated routines, just steady production at a time of year when your garden would otherwise be empty. After everything on this list, this is where it all comes together. Not the most famous tree, not the most promoted, but the one that quietly proves fruit growing doesn't have to be difficult to be incredibly productive. What makes all of this even more interesting is that none of these trees are new. They've been here the entire time, quietly growing, quietly producing, long before modern gardening turned into schedules, sprays, and constant intervention. For generations, people planted trees that worked with their environment, not against it. Trees that didn't need to be managed every week just to survive. And somehow, over time, that knowledge got replaced with something far more complicated. Not because it had to be, but because it was easier to sell. The result? Entire backyards filled with plants that demand more time, more effort, and more inputs than they should, when in reality, there were always simpler options, more reliable options, trees that produce more by needing less. So instead of trying to fix a system that keeps creating problems, it might be worth stepping back and choosing differently from the start. Pick 1 or 2 trees from this list that match your climate, plant them at the right time, give them space early on, and then let them do what they're designed to do. Because once they're established, something shifts, the work drops off, the results go up, and your garden stops feeling like something you have to manage and starts becoming something that actually gives back. If this changed the way you think about what to plant, hit subscribe, and more importantly, drop a comment and tell me which tree you'd actually try first, because chances are it's not the one you originally planned.